5 things. We're breaking down USC's 30-7 season opening win over San Jose State. And I'm Erik McKinney, joined by Katz, Marc Kulkin. And guys, let's get into this. Our first thing, and we're going to go player of the game again from the 30-7 win, USC over San Jose State. Greg, go ahead. You up first. Your player of the game.
Well, after careful examination, I have decided there's only one person that I could pick based on what I saw, and that would be quarterback Kedon Slovis. I felt that he was the straw that stirred the drink. He was 24-36 for 256 yards, 2 touchdowns, but more importantly to me was the fact that he threw no interceptions, took a number of hits, not necessarily just sacks. He took 2 sacks, but he got a number of hits. He got up and he seemed to keep his composure. And I thought that was, look, without Kedon Slovis, they probably would be in a much more difficult shape. Although I have to say, for my own opinion, I think their offense is in difficult shape because it could only score 2 touchdowns, one early in the game, one late in the game, which I thought was cosmetic, by the way. But no, I think I'm going to go with Kedon Slovis because I thought he was on the field the longest and it had the biggest impact. Mm-hmm.
Marc, go ahead. Your player of the game.
Yeah, it's a toss-up for me. I think Greg Johnson would be an easy pick. He obviously had the pick 6, took it to the house, and kind of re-energized the team when they needed it the most. But you know what? I'm going to go with my dude, Kalen Bullock. For this freshman to step in the way he did, literally last-minute notification, you're starting, young man. First safety to start at USC since, what was it, 2013, 14?
13, first freshman, yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he played a solid game. They gave up some yards through the air, but that's because schematically they wanted to take away the run. So when you look at the numbers, you say, all right, well, USC gave up 300 yards through the air. But, we want to use the word cosmetic, a lot of that was cosmetic yards at the end. They were chasing points. So, I'm going with Kalen Bullock for the way he just stepped into the role, and it was seamless. It's like Isaiah was out there.
Yeah, Kalen, a big-time performance. And I know a lot of us who watch practice were sort of, okay, wait till you see this kid once it was announced that he was gone. You guys left me Drake London, and I'm just fine taking Drake London as my player of the game. 12 catches, 137 yards, and really for long stretches, the only guy who really seemed like he could get anything done offensively in a way that really threatened San Jose State. And this was a guy that was getting, twisted and tweaked and jumped on and just at the bottom of every pile. You could tell San Jose State wanted to do everything they could to take him out of his game, take him out of the game. And again, like we said, a career high catches, 12 catches. He'd had 8 before as his career high. And I think just a glimpse of what he's about to do this season. I think it could be a big, big year for Drake London and a big start for him against San Jose State. With the player of the game there, what we went with, let's go play of the game. And Marc, we'll start with you. Your play of the game from Saturday.
Well, that's easy. That's Greg Johnson. The pick 6. There's no way that you're going to leave him out of the conversation. And it wasn't, that was obviously the play of the game because it brought back some energy because the team was really listless. The offense wasn't doing much of anything. But he just played a great game all around. But yeah, that was the play. And he even said it after the game. They did something earlier. I recognized it and I jumped it. And it looked like the pass was intended for him. That's how fast he got to the spot.
He's grown so much from when he came into where he is now. It's really fun to watch him play now. And the injury, missing spring ball, and coming back now. Again, another guy. There's so many guys all over this team, but another guy that's going to be fun, I think, to watch this year. Greg, go ahead, jump in. Your play of the game.
Well, unfortunately, as much as it pains me to agree with Marc, I'm going to have to agree with him because I think the obvious is the obvious. Yeah. And I was happy for him myself because he's an LA kid. He mentioned that in the press conference. He did, say how much it meant to him. I think he really does care. I'm not saying the others don't care, but it really meant something special to him. I thought that San Jose State, I never felt was really going to go over the hump. But what Greg Johnson did is he closed the door on any hope that they had. And sometimes you need a play like that when your offense isn't, shall we say, scoring touchdowns, but scoring field goals. And, in this game of football, we're all old enough to know that anything can happen if you put, they say, put yourself in position to win. You could put yourself in position to lose. And I think what Greg Johnson did was he sealed the victory. He wouldn't allow that to happen. So kudos to Greg Johnson. Good guy.
Yeah, the easy answer for me, again, is just to echo you guys. And that's clearly it. I'm tempted because Mark got to talk about Kalen Bullock. I kind of want to talk about him. He had a couple third down stops to force punts and force a field goal with just some sure tackling. And you knew when Isaiah Polamalu's not in there, San Jose State is looking, how do we attack 27? How do we go after the freshman? And they did. They tried him a lot. And Kalen, he really responded. The other play I want to mention is the touchdown catch by Taj Washington. That's a play where kind of a broken play. They got San Jose State to jump. Keaton and Taj Washington both kind of notice it. Taj Washington said on that play, he was supposed to just stand there and kind of do nothing. He takes off. Keaton throws it up. He makes a great play on the ball. Just kind of, again, a nice story. Taj Washington coming over, transferring from Memphis, and for him to kind of make a play like that, score the first touchdown of the year for USC on that kind of athletic play, showing a little bit what he can do. I thought that was pretty special too, and a really good start to his USC career. So 2 things down. We're going to go to our third thing, and this is, Greg, starting with you, the thing that you expected to see from this game, and it delivered. So what you expected to see?
Well, there's actually a tie. I hate to make it a tie, but I'm going to say I expected to see Drake London control the game, be awesome, be tough to tackle, exhibited everything that everybody already knows, and he came through statistically. What I also expected to see was a problem scoring in the red zone. And until I saw that corrected from last year, which I didn't see corrected from this year, this field goals for touchdowns things down the line, that's going to be lethal for this team. It has to be reversed. So I expected to see those 2 things happen. They both did happen. And I guess in a good or bad way, my expectations came through.
Mark, go ahead. Your expectation.
So I anticipated, first of all, I will never use, I try not to use the word expectation just because it's
too bad.
Yeah. So I anticipated seeing the run game and the tight ends utilized. And they were, which was good. Were they efficient? Yeah, here and there. I had set a very low bar that I needed 150 yards from the ground game. I think they finished with a net 160. They were given 183 gross. So you take away the sacks, they finished with 160 yards on the ground.
It's 151 for the 2 running backs, Keontae and Vavai. So right there.
I'll take it. Game 1, the running game last year was what? They averaged as a team 97 yards a game. So we look good in game 1. They use the tight ends. So if that's the secret sauce, if that's the formula for this offense to continue to grow, because like Greg mentioned, the red zone's still an issue. These are some of the things I'll talk about in my Sunday takeaway, as well as on Monday when I close out previous week with my Monday morass. I'll say, what if? These are some of the things I'll be going over because, Greg alluded to some of them, but I'm going to try and focus on the positive right now.
Yeah,
what does that mean?
You touched on something. No, you touched on something that needs to be touched on. But for the game today, I'm just going to focus on the positive. I will hit them with where they need to work. Trust me.
I trust.
Mine hits on a little bit of that. I expected Drake London to have that big game, but I also expected maybe there to be some growing pains with Keaton Slovis finding other receivers. You talk about that Taj Washington catch, and he had a couple there. He had a couple to tight ends, that sort of thing. But you question where were those other receptions going to come from? You lose Amon-Ra St. Brown and Tyler Vaughns. Those guys were such consistent players there, and you knew that they were going to get a handful of catches every single game. you asked kind of all fall, did he have kind of the rapport with a bunch of other receivers? There's some freshmen, there's some transfers, that kind of thing. That's kind of still, I think we saw a little bit that there wasn't an ability to key in and get something consistently when it wasn't Drake London. And so I think that kind of is a question again going forward. I'm going to take two and talk about the defensive secondary. Boy, coming in, I think we knew that this unit was going to be very good. The corners, the safeties. Mark, you mentioned earlier, kind of chalking up some passing yards for San Jose State late in the game when it's decided, but those guys really delivered. I think you can show that you can go too deep at every single spot there. At some point, USC was playing with both its backup corners. Obviously, it had a backup safety in there too, and then you got to see a little bit of Chris Thompson and Xavier Alford in there also. So a really good, talented secondary, and I think that's going to really help the USC defense going forward.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even talking about Josh Jackson, who probably should have been credited with an interception.
Absolutely.
He was on the field.
We're keeping that tally
at that same time that you're talking about.
Yeah, and we're keeping that tally, one interception for Josh Jackson. We went in and reviewed it in our video, and that's what we've decided.
Dante Williams said it was, so that's good enough for all of us.
Absolutely. So going with not expectation, anticipation, the opposite of that. And so that's our fourth thing, Mark. Go ahead. The thing that surprised you, the thing you did not anticipate seeing on Saturday.
Well, you kind of alluded to it. I don't think they got enough of their wide receivers involved. It was the Drake London show. And let's face it, when you've got somebody of Drake's caliber, you're going to go to him as often as you can. But there was times where I think and I'll have to watch the film again, where Keaton maybe relied on his primary too many times, as opposed to maybe finding guys who are running wide open, who weren't first guy to look at. So I anticipated a more Keaton spreading the ball out more, and we didn't see that. That's my nitpick.
Greg, go ahead. What you were surprised by, I guess, on Saturday?
Well, I'm going to reach back to something that Mark said at the very beginning, and it was his player of the game that Caleb Bullock, to me, what really impressed me. He kind of reminded me, because I'm an old person, of Charles Phillips that played safety on the national championship teams for USC. It was his poise for a kid coming from Pasadena Muir High School to be thrust into that situation basically overnight, so to speak, because I don't know when he was actually informed he was going to start, really is irrelevant, because the bottom line is the kid led the team in tackles for a first game. It's television. He's probably feeling when he ran through the tunnel to start it that he was actually dreaming, which would be total expectations. But I think after the first couple of hits, he started to feel into it. And I think it's really important. I think also it's important to realize just how great that Dante Williams has been in recruiting defensive players and his impact on this program. The fact that they can look so deep now at corner, and you want a poster boy to go recruit. You take a look at Bullock and you say, this is the type of kid that he can recruit, and he's backing it up. And to me, it's exhilarating to see it, because I'll use the word expectations, that this is what I think people expect at all position groups for USC. It is the way, the standard that was set long time ago. And Dante Williams is coming through with players like Caleb Bullock, like a typically elite coaching staff would do under some of the previously great ones like McKay and Pete Carroll. So I was excited by the group. I was not surprised they were that good because I knew the players coming in were that good. But to see him actually perform was, to me, was really satisfying.
Yeah, my surprise, I guess, there were a couple third and long, third and medium that USC faced. They ran it and they picked up first downs. I mean, there are some things to talk about with the offense, and I'm assuming in this next thing, Greg and Mark, you guys will go ahead and go with those. But I really was surprised that they went ahead and handed the ball off in those, and those were called runs on some of those third downs. Not only the fact that they were called surprised me, but the fact that USC could go out and pick those up. I think if you're looking for kind of hints that, no, we really do want to run the ball and be good at running the ball, you can take away some of that in this game. It's not elite. It's not, lethal. I don't think teams are coming in saying, oh my gosh, this ground game, it's we got to throw everything at it. But boy, in the signs of life, can USC run the ball? Those were a couple things to me that really stood out, and things that I think you need to be able to do to be a good, overall team and a well-balanced team going forward. So those are what I'm going to say. Again, a couple of the third down runs that got picked up. And again, USC 7 of 14 on third down. So not a ton to complain about there. It is, some of those third down misses did contribute to that long lull through the second and third quarter. Right. But a couple of the ones they picked up really stood out as big positives for me. We will go to the fifth thing. And this is where, Greg, I appreciate you holding back earlier, because you can go ahead and I'm assuming go into this now. The fifth thing is going to be the biggest takeaway from this and what it means spinning it forward either into next week or well beyond that for the rest of the season.
Well, there's no question to me that this offense has got to improve greatly. I'm going to take a view and give you this perspective. I expect them to run the ball between 20-yard lines. But when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And when they get inside the 20, they have to have a running attack to satisfy or keep the defense honest, even when they're going to pass the ball into the end zone. And that's when you really see what USC's offensive line is all about. When it gets into the red zone areas deep, 15-yard line, 10-yard line, 5-yard line. I don't think it's a problem with the running backs. I really don't. I think it's a issue of the offensive line. It's not a shock to anybody. But until they get that turned around, they're going to find out they're going to get beat. No matter how well the defense played today, there's going to be offenses that have the ability to run the ball in the red zone, or at least make it such a threat that you have to respect both passing and running. If SC, and I don't know if there is an answer because I understand the recruiting, I don't know if they can do it. I'm hoping they can do it, but if they don't do it, they're going to, in big games, they're going to find it very difficult when they get in the red zone to stop kicking field goals. Now, the good news was, of course, is that, Parker was great on the field goals. He's 3 for 3 and good for him. But you know what? You're not going to beat the elite teams, kicking 4 field goals. I'm sorry. So they really need to work on the red zone, and hopefully they will get it accomplished. I will reserve my optimism until they prove it.
Mark, go ahead and your takeaway from Saturday's game.
So 30-7 looks great on the scoreboard. It almost looks dominating. And when you look at the stat line, USC pretty much dominated them up and down across the board. But did they pass the eyeball test for me? No. There's still work to be done. Greg was touching on it in the red zone, so I'm not going to belabor that issue. But for me, it's just making better decisions. It's not always looking at the primary. It's making sure that the running backs are taking what's there instead of trying to make something that's not there. And I think that's what we saw with the running game, where it was stalling out in the red zone. It's first game stuff. I'm not sure exactly how to pinpoint it. A lot of stuff just needs to be cleaned up to make 30-7 turn into 48-7, because that's really what the score should have been. They literally dominated them on every facet, and you left the game going, okay, they won. It feels good, but you know what? I could have done a lot better, and I wasn't even playing.
Well, I if I could just say something, I was very disturbed by what I saw at the end of the game, and disturbed is because they had the game in hand. Okay, normally, and I'm putting my coach's hat on, you'd say, let's get the clock rolling, let's finish the game, period. But all of a sudden, I see them throwing the ball deep downfield.
That's great.
I have to say, what are they doing? Until I said to myself, I know what they're doing. They're doing exactly what Mark said. and that is cosmetic, fool's gold scoreboard. And they were doing that to impress, quote, the voters of the playoff. And I don't think that proved anything, that they did that. And I was disappointed in it, to be honest with you.
I disagree. We were talking about this up in the press box, Erik and I and Josh, because there was enough time. Are they going to turn the page and become an aggressive team and go for the score? Or are they going to go, conservative and, grind out the clock, take a knee, victory formation? We were hoping that they were going to go for the score. So when they threw the ball, to me, that's a positive sign. That was, you can look at it as a cosmetic score. The offense needs to improve this year. And with that much time left in the game, I think you've got to stay aggressive. I don't consider that a cosmetic score. That's finishing the game. Have they
don't
just
be
run the
disappointed
clock
when I write that.
Well, have they just decided, we're going to run the ball into the middle of the line 3 or 4 times? That's what we saw last year and the year before. This was a little bit different. My perspective.
You're welcome to it.
Yeah, my take. I mean, it hits on a lot of that. One of them is Greg Johnson makes that play. I liked kind of keeping your offense and going at the end, and it's another thing where in the fourth quarter you're wrapping it up and doing it well, right? Playing well. That's what we saw from this team last year. They should not have been in a close game against UCLA, a close game against Arizona. They did make the plays against Arizona State, same thing. They showed up in the fourth quarter last year. That's nice to see this year, and taking that forward. Yeah, if that's going to be kind of the thing, boy, we can finish games. We can make the plays when it matters. That's great. The second and third quarter, you've got to figure out that third quarter. Another shutout in the third quarter, 3 points, second and third quarter combined. You went 8 drives and I believe kicked 2 field goals.
Yep.
In 8 drives. And that lull it's got to be figured out. Keaton Slovis talked about, energy and needing to bring that, whatever the offense needs to do to get that going when it matters, when you can run away from a team rather than just keep them in it and then try to make a play at the end. That's something you got to figure out. The other thing we heard from a lot of the players coming out of the game was, there is a sense of this is the first game of the season. It's new guys playing together. Yeah, there's some guys back, but it's different than last year. And you got to figure out kind of how to do this in a game situation. You got fans back on the field. It's a team none of these guys have played before. So there's some unfamiliarity there and trying to get everything together. Keontae Ingram said after the game, kind of, this is what it is. You figure it out, you move forward, you put it together. But I guess, Mark, I'm kind of in line with you on a takeaway being, I got a text from my friend after the game saying, hey, I wasn't able to watch the game. 30-7 sounds pretty good. And again, if you had told us all, I think before the game, hey, they win by 23. These are the stats. They run for 160 yards. They get 2 interceptions. They return 1 for a touchdown. Yeah, that sounds fine. I think watching it and seeing it, yeah, there's still some things to work on. And some of those things are things that you came into the season knowing. And so that, I think, is the takeaway. Can you fix that in a week, in 2 weeks, when you had kind of the offseason to do it? That's a big question. Red zone, some talking about running game. And then again, how do you keep momentum going offensively through the middle of the game and come out in the third quarter and really do something? So again, some answers that we got this game, some questions, some standout performances. Appreciated talking about it with you guys. That's it for our 5 things. Again, looking back at USC starting its 2021 season with a 30-7 win over San Jose State. Thanks for watching WeAreSC.